Hello and a very warm welcome to episode 6 of In the Craft Room with Julie. Now I'm starting off today making a little stool for my dressing table. This is in the main bedroom of my doll's house. And the actual stool is really simple to put together. It's basically like a little shallow drawer, so you've got a base with two sides and then you'd attach the front and back, and then you just attach the legs underneath. So the legs I'm using so that they match the dressing table are actually the same size as the ones I've used for the dressing table, but that's going to make the stool look a little bit too high and perhaps a little bit too chunky as well. So what I've actually done is cut the bottom off of one of the legs. So I think I cut about 2.5mm off, and then I've sanded it just to make it slightly smaller. And as you can see there, if I can sort of hold them so you can see them both, see how much smaller, I can't, let me come around the other side. But see how much smaller that actually makes it look. So just by cutting that 2.5mm off of the foot, and then giving it a gentle sand all the way around. So I've made the foot a bit smaller as well, you know, width-wise, and then sort of sanded down the length of the leg as well. And it just takes off enough to make it look like a smaller leg in the same design. So that's what I'm sort of starting off with today. And then if I can, I want to try to get the pieces at least sort of cut today for a new doll's house bed. So if you remember in a sort of episode of my doll's house diary, the metal bed in the room does actually look a little bit oversized. So as much as I love it, I think it is a little bit too big for the room. Let me just get this done because it's quite noisy and then I can carry on talking. So it's one of those Reuter porcelain beds, and it would certainly work in some settings. So I think depending upon the layout of your room and the other pieces of furniture that you're using, it could certainly work in a 1/12 scale doll's house. But I just think it does look a little bit too large in this particular room. So I'm going to be remaking the bed, and let me just show you what I'm going to make. And I should probably say, remind you, because I'm sure I've sort of shown you this before, but this is from my book, Making Doll's House Furniture in 1/12 Scale, and this is the lovely sort of yellow bedroom. So obviously I won't be using the yellow, it's all sort of creams and beiges in there. But I really love the style of this bed with this sort of inlaid head and footboard. So I'm going to be cutting the pieces for that today as well, and hopefully might get a chance to actually start building that as well. But we'll see how we get on. So the other thing I want to show you as well is this lovely fabric that I've just received, and this is from Hodges Haberdashery. And I think the website address is just hodgeshaberdashery.com. You can find them on Instagram as well, where they give sort of updates of all their new fabrics. And this is a very fine corduroy. And I'm going to be using this for the sofa and possibly an armchair as well in my doll's house living room. Now I had originally planned on using a beige fabric, and I ordered some sort of beige cotton, but when it came it wasn't quite the right colour and it was a bit too thin as well. And I think for a sofa, a really nice sort of, not thick because obviously that would be difficult to work with, but also would look out of scale, but a thicker fabric then looks better for a sofa. Something a bit more sort of, you know, hard wearing. So I also just, oh, the sun's just come out. I also just want to say something else about this. So I'd originally ordered just one square of this to actually use as a combination fabric to make some cushions with. Just get out of that sun, it's a little bit bright. And I just wanted to show you the original piece, and then I decided I'd order some more because I liked it so much. But if I bring in the original piece, can you see the colour differences between these two? So although the light's sort of shining funny now, that bit and that bit are the same colour. So they're the pieces that I've just ordered. And this is the original piece that I had, and it is completely different from the one that I've just ordered. Now I'm happy with the new one, and it goes really nicely in the living room with the paper, and I'll show you that in a moment. But the reason I'm pointing this out is because if you are doing a larger project, such as a sofa or a bed or something like that, then, or you want to match curtains or anything like that where you're going to need more than sort of one square, always order it at the same time, because the chances are if you order sort of later on down the line, the batch isn't going to be the same, and you're going to get a slightly different colour. And you know, if you're crafty, I'm sure you're aware of that, but it's the same with wools and everything. You're always better ordering all that you're going to need in one go, so you get the same batch numbers. But let's go and have a look at this newer fabric then in the living room. Okay, so here is the living room so far, so completely decorated and ready for moving in. And all I've actually made so far is a little log basket. One of the logs actually just fell out. I'll get that in a moment. But this is going to be, and I've told you this before as well, but this is going to be a sort of log cabin type room, but with this floral wallpaper. And I got the idea for this from the Laura Ashley catalogue, and I get a lot of inspiration from her sort of catalogues and, you know, furniture and everything, because that's a style that I really love. So I'm going to have the sort of claret coloured sofa, and that will sort of go over there, but see how nicely that goes with that wallpaper. It really does pick out the colour of those roses there, so I was really pleased with that. So that will go there. And then earlier I said possibly an armchair, because obviously I want something to go over here as well. But I'm thinking either a big sort of comfy old armchair, the same as the sofa, or maybe one of the sort of Berger style chairs. And I made one of those on Patreon. So maybe one of those, and then with a lovely sort of, this lovely sort of red or claret coloured cushion on it. And then lots of lovely pillows. I'm going to have loads of sort of textures in here as well. So the corduroy, we'll have wools. I've got some lovely sort of checked brush cotton fabrics as well. And the actual sofa that I'm going to make is a remake of the tutorial that I did for YouTube for the sofa, but I'm actually going to remake it slightly differently, and I'm going to do it as a tutorial for book 6. But what I will do when I've actually made that, or as I'm making it, I'll film a few bits to show you the differences that I'm doing, or the differences that I'm including in the tutorial. And one of them will actually be for the cushions. Instead of just using a piece of foam and covering that, I'm actually going to cut them using wood and then cover the wood, because I think that makes for a really nice sort of solid looking cushion. So really with the doll's house, and I haven't sort of tidied it out before I do this, so there's things everywhere as you can see, but with the doll's house I'm going to carry on with the bedroom, and then I also want to make a start on the living room. I've also got plans for a really nice dining room table that I want to start on, so although I would like to think I could just go from room to room and do one at a time, I don't think I'm going to be able to work like that, because I've just got so many different ideas. I feel like I want to get started, do a little bit in each room, and then sort of build from there. And also, I mean, I don't know about you, but it depends, doesn't it, on how you feel on that particular day. Some days you might want to work on something that's a really sort of long-winded piece, something that's going to take you ages. Another day you might just want to work on a couple of quick projects, and that might mean moving into a different room. And I really feel like that at the moment. Sometimes I think, right, I'm going to get back into the kitchen and I'm going to complete that, you know, finish that off altogether. And then other days I think, no, I feel like making the sofa, or I feel like making a table. And let me know as well in the comments, you know, how you work. Do you like to stick to one room, get it all done before you move on, or do you sort of flit from room to room, as I sort of feel like doing at the moment? Right, okay, so let me get back to my little dressing table stool, and that's for this lovely bedroom here. Okay, so the little stool is built. Really quick and easy construction, as you can see. And I'm just giving it a coat of paint, as you can also see, stating the obvious. And I had a bit of a panic actually, because I went into my little sort of sample paint pot drawer and I couldn't see any ivory, which is the one I've used for all of the furniture in the main bedroom. And then I realised I'd dispensed it all into this one pot. I forgot I'd done that. But what I did realise while I was rummaging about in there is that I really need to give that drawer a good sort. I've got so many little pots in there that have only got a tiny little bit left in the bottom, and most of it is all dried up as well. Especially the farrow and ball ones that come in tins. They tend to get dry a lot quicker than the ones in the plastic tubs, and they sort of go all rusty around the top. And when that happens, it's really difficult to separate out the rust. But I don't buy the farrow and ball ones anymore, because I think they're, well, the last time I went to purchase one, they were £5 a pot. They might be more than that now. And I find that these little emulsion paint sample pots from local DIY stores, you know, do the job just as well. If you sort of prepare your piece by sanding and then sand in between coats, you get just as good a finish. Yeah, so I need to do that. I need to sort that drawer out. That's another little job. And I've also realised I haven't got enough paintbrushes anymore. I can never find exactly the size that I want or the length of bristle. When I'm using a wood dye, I like to go for a really soft bristle as well, and then paint you can use a slightly firmer bristle. But a lot of mine have sort of dried up or they're molting. Now these ones that I'm using now I did actually get from Hobbycraft quite cheaply. About £3 for quite a large pack, but they do tend to moult quite a bit, so you're sort of forever picking bristles out of your work. So I really do need to invest in some new brushes. A really nice pack as well, with, you know, lots of different sizes in. I think the most popular size I use is about a 6mm wide head or brush, which is 1/4 of an inch, and I would use that for sort of larger pieces of furniture. And then I like these sort of 3mm for smaller pieces. And then I also like to have a couple of detail brushes, you know, probably about 1mm, and then even smaller than that for sort of tiny fine detail. So next time we go on a shopping trip, that will be on my list. Okay, so I'll finish this off, and then once this is completely dry I can make a little cushion for it. So I haven't actually done any filming for a couple of days, but I just wanted to show you that I finished the little stool, added a cushion, and then I've also made the little dressing table mirror. And I'm pretty sure I've got a tutorial for the mirror on YouTube. It might be slightly different to that one, but very simple, just a little drawer as the base with the top and bottom, and then I've used that mirror vinyl again, put a frame around it and attached that to the top. I think that looks really nice. Got one of my little glass bottles on there that I got at Miniatura. So really pleased with that. Still haven't got around yet to cutting the pieces for the bed, and I really want to get that remade now because I think it's starting to look really nice in there. So I'll see if I can get onto that later today. But I'll take you back into the craft room now and show you what else I'm working on. Okay, so back in the craft room, and I've got here the wardrobe from the 1940s house bedroom. So I've just cut the pieces here for a suitcase, and the actual suitcase is going to be quite basic, but I'm going to try something different. Rather than adding leather, I'm going to use paper to cover the pieces and then try and really age it up. You know, you get those old sort of really battered suitcases where all the sort of brown vinyl is peeling off, or vinyl or paper or whatever it is they use to cover them. So I'm going to do that, so that will be my next job. And then here I've just started cutting some pieces. This one here is going to be a lovely console table as the next patron tutorial, and that is actually going to go in my doll's house in the upstairs landing area. And then here I'm going to start making some stock for my Etsy shop. A lot of people ask me if I can do custom makes, and I always say no, just because I sort of like the freedom to be able to work on what I want to work on rather than sort of being tied to a time limit. But I am going to start making some of my most sort of popular pieces to list in the shop. So here I've got a little single drawer unit, and I'll do a couple of little storage baskets with that, and then a double version of that unit, again with the storage baskets. So really looking forward to putting those together. But as I say, my next job is going to be filming the little suitcase tutorial for the 1940s doll's house, and this will be for episode 26, which is actually going to be published on the 10th of August. So I'm really trying to get ahead with those episodes. And then behind me, and I'm not going to show you, I'm working on another book project which is just about to go into the painting stage, but I'm trying to keep a lot of those as a surprise so that you'll see them when the book actually comes out. Okay, so I'll see you again in a bit. So something else I wanted to show you are some new crochet projects that I'm working on. And for all of these squares you see here, I've just used Gutermann sewing thread. So this is just the basic sewing thread, and I used my 4mm hook, which means I can do a 3-part square or 3 round square that comes out at 9mm. So that's just 3/8 of an inch. The flower ones here are 12mm, so half an inch. That's just gone slightly larger. It obviously depends upon your tension, and these ones here are just slightly larger as well than my first little square that I just showed you, just by about 1mm or so. So these are about 10mm, and that one is 9. So I'm going to practice at keeping my tension a little bit tighter, but not going too tight so that you sort of get that squeak on the hook. You don't want it to be so tight that you're actually struggling to get the hook into the cotton or into the loops. And I'm really enjoying doing these and going a little bit smaller, and I've got 4 projects on the go here. So with these ones here, I'm going to make a little cushion, so I'm going to have 4 of those, and then I'll do a little border around the outside edge. This one I'm going to make a blanket, and I'm not sure how many I'll need. Normally I'd do 6x4 and do a 24 square blanket, which comes out at around 5 to 5.5 inches wide. So I want to keep it to that width, but I'm not sure how many of these I'll need to do that. With these I'm going to make a little bag. So I'll need around, I think, 27 squares for that. And then with this one, I'm actually going to make a little cardigan. And this is why I wanted to get my squares even smaller, because I really want to make a crocheted granny square cardigan. And it's going to take 85 squares. And when I sort of measured it up using my DMC thread, my number 80 thread, and a 4mm hook, the squares came out at about 3/4 of an inch, so about 19mm, and the cardigan would therefore be more of 1/6 scale than 1/12. So I've been trying to get these squares as small as I can for a while, just by, you know, using a tighter tension, and then I decided just to have a go with a thread, and I've sort of finally got there. So I need to make 85 of those. Now I've actually timed myself making these, and they take me longer than they do with the sort of thicker thread, the slightly thicker thread. So a sort of 4 round one of these takes me 15 minutes to complete, so I can only make 4 in an hour. So it is quite a sort of long process, and I'm hoping I'll get quicker as I practice a little bit more. And I certainly did when I started doing mini crochet. It used to take me ages just to make a 4 or 5 round square. I think it used to take me about 25 minutes or so, and I've managed to get that down to 15. So I'm hoping I can speed up this process as well. But once I realised that using these cottons was the way to go, I started collecting a few more colours. So I already had some in my sewing box, but I went into town yesterday and I got another 5, and then I ordered a really nice set of all these sort of brighter colours from Amazon. So I've already got a nice sort of little collection building up here. And they do so many colours. I'm sure you've all seen the sort of Gutermann thread stands in sewing shops and things, and they just have hundreds of colours. I really like all of those, and I've got plans for different squares and things already. And then I actually just, when I was in town, I went into the Works. Love that shop. You can get so many great things in there. Got myself a nice new notebook. Not sure what I needed it for, but just liked the cover, so I bought that. And this lovely storage box. So it's got this lovely sort of concertina action. So you just open the lid up like that. And I just sort of sorted out all my cottons yesterday and then closed the lid and then opened it again, and they all flew everywhere. So I'm going to have to learn to be a little bit more careful when I'm actually opening the box, because that just comes up automatically. But I really like that. So I've sort of got only 2 trays there for cotton, so they will all eventually probably end up in this sort of larger bottom tray, and then I can keep my current work. And I'm going to get another 4mm hook and a pair of scissors to go in here, so I don't have to keep moving from my sort of regular crochet box into my micro crochet box. But I really like that, and that was only £8, which I think is a good price for these sort of storage boxes. And that was from the Works. Probably similar to sort of pound shops and things like that. And you can just get all sort of little crafty bits in there. So that is just something else that I'm working on. And again, just have this sitting open on my lap as I'm sort of sat in front of the TV. It does go flat when you open it, so you could just sort of lay that on your lap like that. I'll just show you from the side. You just have to be a little bit more careful with it because it's quite top heavy. So if you do put them on your lap, then just be careful that it's not going to tip off. Or you might even just want to have that on a table and have a little tray or something on your lap to work on. But I'm really enjoying doing those, so I'll put all of those back in. And I can get on with my next job. I've actually got the blinds partly down because of the sun, but I just need to show you the muntjac out there with the young one. They're quite jumpy still. Especially when one of the sort of large crows flies over. They don't like the shadows of them. Oh, but look at the little one. It's actually got quite a bit bigger now, but that was a tiny little thing running about behind the mum. Not long ago actually, so they obviously grow quite quickly. I hope that's a really good picture you're getting there. It's quite bright sun today. But aren't they lovely? And that's just normal bird seed that they're eating, that Matt puts out at the same time every morning, and then they normally sort of watch him go inside and then come running out of the hedge. So that's quite nice. But the birdseed doesn't contain corn, and they can't eat corn, or you know, I'm sure they do eat it, but it probably gives them an upset stomach or something. So we get one without corn in it, and they do seem to enjoy it. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do now is cut the pieces for the new bed for the main bedroom of the doll's house, and that's this one, which is included in my book, Making Doll's House Furniture in 1/12 Scale by Julie Warren, available from Amazon or from my Etsy shop. And I really love this bed because I love the detail on the head and footboard, so that's why I've chosen this one in particular, and I think it will really suit that bedroom and those colours in there. So I'm going to start cutting the pieces now, and I've actually already made this bed from this book a couple of times. You can see my ticks there from the last time I cut the pieces. I've tried to rub them out, but you can still see them, so I'll tick over this side this time. And I actually love how the books get like that as you work with them. You know, they have your pencil marks on them, or your little notes, or your post-it notes and things like that. Mine are all getting a little bit scrappy now. But like I say, I really love that. I like a book to look well used. So I've just put a new blade in my craft knife, and I always like to do that when I start cutting a new project. And a really good way to tell if you need a new blade, if it starts sort of catching along the wood, or if when you cut the wood you find that you're having to do more sweeps to get the knife to go through, or if when it cuts it's got sort of little fluffy edges, you know then that you need to change your blade. Okay, so first bit then, 110 by 5mm. And I'm going to leave it here for today, so hopefully in the next episode I'll be actually dressing the bed. So I'll do that on camera as well. And I'm going to be using the little crochet throw that's already on the bed that's in there now, but I'll probably replace a lot of the bedding. And then the other thing, I just wanted to remind the YouTube subscribers that I've just started sharing my first patron series here on the channel, which was a Honeychurch shop, which I turned into a beach themed homewares shop, and that was 24 episodes, and I just shared episode 1 last Friday, so do go and take a look at that, and I'll be sharing them all here, so I'll share one every Friday, and there are some really long episodes in there as well, so there are some that are sort of 2 parts long and up to sort of 3 hours long, and it's a really good series, and there are some lovely tutorials included. If you're a patron subscriber, you've probably already seen it, but if you haven't seen it and you're a new subscriber, you can go back and watch those episodes whenever you like. The episodes will remain on Patreon, so that you can go in and binge watch if you'd prefer. And if you'd like to do that and you're not already a Patreon member, then you can subscribe to Tier 2 for just £3, $3 or €3 a month. Or if you'd like to have the series, a monthly vlog and a monthly tutorial, then head over and join at Tier 3 for £5 or $5 or €5 a month. And those figures will include tax if it's applicable in your country or state. And I just want to end by saying a huge thank you to all of my patrons for supporting me. Your support means that I was able to do that project, but also that I'm able to do what I love every single day, and that really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much, and I hope that you will continue to enjoy the content that I share on Patreon and on YouTube. Now, once I've actually cut the pieces for this bed, I'm going to be preparing an order for Streets Ahead, and I'm actually going to order a few bits and pieces that I haven't had in the shop before. So also in the next episode, as well as dressing the bed, I'll be able to show you the new lines, which I think you're going to like. So I'll let you get on with your day now. I hope you've enjoyed this latest In the Craft Room episode, and I'll see you again soon. So take care. Bye.